Alrighty, hi Addy. Welcome to today's math lesson, and we are going to be doing lesson number 87, which is going to be super fun because we're going to be finding missing factors. And that is super fun. And is it useful for real life? Well, let's look at this comic. Teachers act like this is how the world will be. Speed limit 2x equals 360 divided by 4, solve for x. Good one, huh? Actually, we would be able to solve that problem after today's lesson. That is going to be super easy for us to solve. So let's see. Let's see if we can figure it out by the end of the lesson, huh? Because I think you're going to learn how to do something like that. Yeah, the speed limit signs are not going to be like that, but there is use for this in the future. All right, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do your 64 multiplication facts, okay? So get out your pencil and paper. Make sure you have those math facts ready, and you're going to have 5 minutes to do it. On your mark, get set, go. Oh, go now. I'll try and find some music while we're doing that. Let's see. Keep going, Addy. You're about halfway through. You're doing awesome. All right, I'm going to stop you right there, Addy. That was 5 minutes, so good job doing that. And let's go on to the rest of the lesson. We are going to do mental math first. Okay. Oh man, I just realized I didn't give us a little GIF to count by. I need one. Let's look up some animal exercising because I need that to help me count by 1/8. Okay, I don't see an animal. I'm just going to do this guy. All right, here we go. He's gonna uh, help us count along, and we're gonna count up and down. It says up and down this time by 1/8 between 1/8 and 2. Okay, so these are the 1/8 marks. So we have to count anything that's this or bigger. Okay, so here we go. 0, 1/8, 1/4, 3/8, 1/2, 5/8, 3/4, 7/8, 1, 1 and 1/8, 1 and 1/4, 1 and 3/8, 1 and 1/2, 1 and 5/8, 1 and 3/4, 1 and 7/8, 2. Now let's count down. 2, 1 and 7/8, 1 and 3/4, 1 and 5/8, 1 and 1/2, 1 and 3/8, 1 and 1/4, 1 and 1/8, 1, 7/8, 3/4, 5/8, 1/2, 3/8, 1/4, 1/8, 0. Sweet. Were you able to do it with me? Okay. We are going to see some really cute pictures of bears while we do the rest of mental math. Okay, here we go. What is 70 times 70? So Danny and I just learned how to do these problems, but you already know how to do them. We multiply the digits first, so 7 times 7, and then count the number of zeros and add those to the end. Okay. B, what is 1,000 minus 375? Cute panda there, huh? What is 5 times 4.99? I would do 5 times $5. So you end up with a certain amount. And then think, okay, I added too much, or I multiplied too much, so I need to subtract 5 cents from that. All right, D, we are going to double $0.85. Double it. How much would you have? Just like we're doubling those bear cubs. They're so cute. I think they're just playing. All right, E, what is 62.5 divided by 100? So that's a tricky one. When we divide, we're going to make that number smaller, right? We're going to move that 2 decimal points. F, what is 20 times 45? So you could just do 45 times 2. And then don't forget to add that 0. Okay. G. What is, we're going to start with the number 5 times 5. Now subtract 5. Multiply by 5. It's getting tricky, huh? Divide by 2. Subtract 1. Divide by 7. Oh, sorry, I'm tired. Multiply by 3. Subtract 1. And divide by 2. All right, Happy Hands Club. Ready? Here we go. We are going to hold our hands 50 centimeters apart and then 25 centimeters apart. Think about how much a centimeter is. Try and guess that. So you're going to start with some distance, and it looks like you're going to divide that distance in half. All right, Houston, we have a problem here, and only Addy can figure it out. Samantha averaged 85 points on her first 3 tests. So she took 3 tests, X, X, and X. If you average those, she got 85. Then it says she averaged 95 on her next 2 tests. So we have another X and X where she averaged 95. What was Samantha's average score for her first 5 tests? So now they want to know the total average. That's definitely tricky because there's more tests here than there are here. So you cannot just take these numbers and average them together because you'll get the wrong answer. This has to be weighted. In other words, there's 3 tests where she got this. There's only 2 tests where she got this. So the 85 is worth a little bit more than the 95. So let's see if you can figure that out. If not, if you get this one wrong, tell me, text me, and let's go over it together, okay? You're definitely going to have to pause it there. And I'm going to go on to the new concept. And the new concept I think is really super cool because it's starting to introduce like some algebra into what you're doing. And algebra is what Zach's doing. It's actually very challenging. But you are up to the challenge, just like SpongeBob here. You're up to the challenge, and I know that you can do it. So here we go. The way we can find an unknown factor, like this is an unknown factor. What we do when you see something like this, 5 times n is equal to 21, is we divide the product by the known factor. So this is the product. You're going to divide it by the factor that's known. So this is 5 times something is equal to 21. The way to figure it out is to do 21 divided by 5 because that's the one that we know. Now, I think about it a little bit differently. When I see something that looks like this, I see an equation here. So this is an equal sign, meaning that this is an equation. That means 5 times whatever it is going to be equal to 21 because on this side of the equation, it has to be the same as what's on this side of an equation. So whatever you do to one side of an equation, you have to do it to the other side, and then it will still be equal. That's kind of how I think of it in my mind. So in my mind, when I do these kind of problems, I say, I want to end up with the n being by itself on one side of the equal sign. So to do that, I need to divide this side by 5 and divide this side also by 5. When I do that, I can cancel out these 5s. They reduce to just the number 1. And when I cancel out the 5s, then what I'm left with is n is equal to 21 divided by 5. And then I get my answer, and I can either plug that into a calculator or I can just divide it. And what they do in your example is they divide it. So they do 21 here. Whoops. So like this. And then they put the 5 here. I'm going to move this out of the way so it's not confusing. And so let's focus on this. 21 divided by 5. So 5 goes into 20. 5 doesn't go into 2, right? But 5 goes into 20 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. I have 1 left over. So it's remainder 1, or you can say 4 and 1/5. Because you take that 1 and you put it over this factor. Okay? So it's 4 and 1/5 is the answer. So n if we go back to the problem, n is equal to 4 1/5. So if we want to check our work, you can always plug this back into here. If you're not sure you got the right answer, just say, well, what is 5 times 4 1/5? And if 5 times 4 1/5 is 21, then you got it right. Let's do example 2. I know you don't need to hyperventilate when you see these crazy numbers here. I mean, look at this. It's kind of crazy. 0.6 and 0.048. But don't let those numbers fool you, because you always do the same thing. Now, what they say is we find the unknown factor by dividing the product, this is the product, by the known factor. So divide the product divided by the known factor. But you know me, I think of this as an equation. So I want to do the same thing to both sides of the equation in order to get that m all the way by itself. So I'm trying to get the n by itself. I'm going to divide both sides by 0.6. When I do that, this 0.6 cancels out with this one. So I don't need to worry about that anymore. That just reduces to 1. So what I'm left with is, what I'm left with is m is equal to 0.048 divided by 0.6. And then we're going to just do the math here. Now, they want you to do it kind of by hand. So if we do that, you have 0.048 here, and they have 0.6 here. But then they say, this is a little complicated, right? So what we can do is we can, let's see, you have to bring this decimal over to here. So whenever you divide, you don't want a decimal here. You want to bring it over if you can. But if you do that to this, you've got to also do it to this. So we're going to move this decimal over here to the right. Okay, so if we move both those decimals, what are we left with? We're going to get a 6 there, and it's going to be, oh, I meant to move that over. I meant to slide that over. That way I can tell that the decimal is here. So I moved both decimals over so that there's no decimal in this known factor. Okay? So when we move those decimals over, this becomes the new division problem, which is a little bit easier. Because, let's figure it out. 6 doesn't go into 0, and it doesn't go into 0, 0, and it doesn't go into a 4. So we've got to put some zeros up here. It goes into that one, 0 places, 0 places. And it doesn't matter till you get all the way out to here. Does 6 go into 48? Yes. 6 times 8 is 48. So then I do that multiplication. So, right, so we're going to multiply 8 times 6 and write the answer here. And I get 48, remainder 0. And then remember, when you multiply, the decimal goes straight up, and it ends up right here in our answer. So the answer is 0.08. Now, in this one, I wouldn't be so sure, because my answers are, this was a little confusing, so I'm going to want to check it. So I take this number, I put it right here where the m was, and I think 0.6 times 0.08 is that 0.048. And if it is, then I got that answer right. Okay. Only one more example, Addy, and then we are done. All right. Now this one is tricky. But guess what? Even Homer Simpson could do it, because it's not that tricky. All they did was write it in a different way that we're not used to. We're used to seeing 4x is equal to 45 and having it like this. But it doesn't matter. They can write 45 equals 4x. That's totally cool too. It's allowed. Why? Because we still have an equal sign. And we know that what is on this side of the equation is the same as what's on this side of the equation. So that's not going to mess me up at all, especially the way I do it. And the way I do it is I do the same thing to both sides. I want to get this x by itself on one side of the equation. So I'm going to divide this side by 4, and I'm going to divide this side by 4. And when I do that, these 4's cancel out because it's just the same as 1. And then I'm left with x is equal to 45 divided by 4. And it doesn't matter that it's written backwards. In fact, I can write it the other way. X is equal to 45 divided by 4. It's the same thing as what's written up there. So now let's do the math. 45 divided by 4. Well, 4 goes into 4 one time, so I'm going to put a 1 there. Then I multiply. 1 times 4 is 4. Subtract. Bring it down. How many times does 4 go into 5? Well, it goes in 1 time. And then 1 times 4 is 4. Subtract. I've got a 1. I've got nothing to bring down, so this is just my remainder. So I write that like 1 over 4 because I took that remainder of 1 and then I took this 4 here. And then I've got 11 and 1/4. Now, again, that was a little confusing. So if I plug this into where the x was, I should get the same answer. So 4 times 11 and 1/4, or 11.25, is equal to 45. And then you can see that your answer is correct. Correctamundo. All right, I hope that wasn't too tricky for you today, Addy. But if it is, just ask me about it because this is actually the beginning of algebra. Alrighty, have a great time doing your math today, Addy. Love ya. Bye.